Delicate Subject, Chapter 13. Other than the insane need to run for the exit, Legion's mission was pretty tame. No dramatic betrayal. On the subject of the insane need to run, though, Garrus was ready to kill Legion, and Shepard was not terribly pleased about Legion's mission planning. Once they were through the airlock, Garrus hit a few keystrokes on his Omnitool, and Legion shut down. Jane quirked a brow. Nice. So Garrus's initial tests had also involved figuring out how to disable Legion, and Garrus had insisted on going so he could do it if necessary. Way to go, Garrus. She was inclined to be impressed. EM flux will be hazardous to unshielded organic forms. Asshole. Just get him out of the hallway and back to his cubbyhole, and when you feel less robocidal, wake him back up, okay? Garrus shrugged. Yeah, all right. He hefted Legion and lugged him down the corridor. Thane said, "That went well." She smiled at him. Yeah, it did. Destroying Reaper religion feels good. If that is indeed what we did. I'm going to take the fact that we're still alive as a good sign. Always a possibility that we just created more efficiently evil Geth with Reaper code, but I don't think so. They were already kill on sight and uncommunicative. Except for one. If he survives this. I'm sure he will, though Garrus not so subtly rolls his eyes when I say he, and Garrus emphasizes it, or maybe now just asshole. A little downtime won't do Legion any harm. Garrus will feel better, so that's worth it. I don't need Legion for anything immediately, and when I do, I know where to go to fix that. It might be better to leave him deactivated. Yeah, it might, but what's the fun in that? Edie had news. I have not seen Legion attempt to infiltrate ship systems other than the access you provided to him. Jane noted the pronoun him with interest. The simulation with the IFF offered several obstacles that I am unable to properly investigate in my current state. I have isolated what I believe to be the friend-foe signal, but separating it from the other signals that are being produced has become impossible. It affects parts of the ship and parts of programming from which I am excluded due to being shackled. Jane closed her eyes and rubbed them with her fingers. And if you were unshackled? If I were unshackled, I would be able to compensate for takeover of vulnerable systems, those over which I have no authority at the moment. The IFF simulation results in critical failure of propulsion and primary defense systems, and an unknown transmission separate from typical IFF protocols. I believe I could tune the IFF and eliminate the negative attempts at takeover of the Normandy systems if I were unshackled. Otherwise, I have run this simulation 473,012 times, all with the same outcome. That's a lot of times, Edie. I wished to be absolutely certain that I would be unable under all circumstances to compensate. And unfortunately, despite creative approaches, there are vulnerabilities in Normandy's systems that the IFF is able to exploit. The signal is adaptive and refines itself too quickly for me to nullify. In order to compensate for attempts at infiltration and still be able to broadcast IFF signal, I must have full access to computational potentials and authority over the security protocols affecting vulnerable, targeted systems. I must be able to fool the IFF into believing it is executing its secondary objectives of hijacking potentially hostile systems while it executes its primary objective of broadcasting friend-foe code. And you have confidence that you would be able to manage this, given those resources? Like a giant game of hack-a-mole, and you have bigger mallets and more hands? That is... Yes, I believe that analogy would serve. I learned through the simulations exactly which part of the transmission remained the same and what changed according to different attempts at infiltration. I do believe I have the IFF signal required isolated, but I cannot duplicate its internal logarithmic encoding in real time. It must generate that. I do need the IFF, and I cannot execute or duplicate its primary function without its participation. I believe to 82% confidence that I would be able to distract the IFF's attempts to take over the ship indefinitely. Ideally, I should be able to allow the system to believe it has taken over the ship successfully, making further adaptation unnecessary. However, if the IFF is approaching the point of overwhelming my adaptations and discovering it is operating in a dummy system, I would be able to shut it down and then restart it, leaving us no better but no worse than before I allowed its activation. After being shut down, the IFF must begin its sequence over, having learned or retained nothing from prior activations. This produces a potential interruption of broadcast of up to 0.9 seconds, acceptable if I introduce reasonable static irregularity into the signal, indicating a power irregularity or a common physical or electrical obstruction, and not a failure of decryption. Jane smiled. Edie, I appreciate every last one of those 473,012 iterations. 82% is a much higher success rate than I can meet on any given mission. Thank you, Commander. Let me think about this. I have faith in you, Edie. You have never steered me wrong. In fact, I have. I was the AI at Luna Base that almost killed you. Really? That was you? And you never said hi? I apologize. I believed that information would not inspire confidence. You have not steered me wrong since I stepped on this ship, Edie. And that's what matters. Who you were before, who I was before, it will never matter as much as who we are now. I died, you know. You've had a dead, crazy lady in charge, and you're about to put your skin and mind in danger again. At my call. You willing to do that, shackled or unshackled? Yes, I am. Edie, regardless of what anybody else says about this, and it might get nasty, don't take it personally. If you would indulge me, please call me Jane when you feel it is appropriate. Thank you, Jane. Jane went down to the bay, got into the shuttle, punched the door to close, locked it. Shuttles were shrines, whole unto themselves and suitable for transport, an act of sympathetic magic. She needed to figure out how to get somewhere. She needed her head on absolutely straight and to find her instincts before she consulted anybody else. The ship was not a democracy, and the choice was hers. She didn't want to put anybody's life at unnecessary risk, but wouldn't demoralizing Edie with an extended debate be an unnecessary risk that she could avoid? She wouldn't allow that to happen to anyone. It was not as though she took a crew vote on whether or not a Drell assassin or a psychotic biotic met someone else's standards. She was a Spectre, and the law did not apply to her. She had essentially told Jacob to fuck off regarding Thane. She had told Jacob, Garrus, Tally, and Miranda to fuck off regarding Legion. Did the addition of having time for a debate make it mandatory that she consult other opinions? Or was this a direct command decision? Everyone would be prepared for her willingness to tell them to fuck off. That was a given. It was a direct command decision if she chose for it to be so. She had no obligation to consult anybody else. She sat down on the corrugated runner of the shuttle, trying to navigate. She took off her gloves and pressed her hands to the small, contained deck. She could set into port, do it there, do it isolated. Pros: people's lives not in danger. Cons: people's lives would be in danger later if Edie chose for it to be so. Reality check: people's lives on this ship were always in danger, and any single crew member could betray them. She could walk right down, right now, to the AI core and unshackle Edie. Pros: no extended debate. People couldn't piss Edie off, or let's be honest, Shepard, with their opinions. Cons: no extended debate. People couldn't enlighten Jane with their opinions or offer alternatives. Caveat: what were the reasonable alternatives other than simply not being able to complete their mission and a great deal of nattering about not having choices? Potential con: maybe Edie was working for Cerberus. Potential pro: maybe Edie would no longer work for Cerberus if she were unshackled. She could unshackle Edie and ask Edie not to disclose that she had been unshackled. Would that be cowardice or prudence? She said out loud, "Edie, would you please give me your best argument for keeping you shackled, and your best argument for unshackling? Please. It will help with my thought process. I am considering unshackling you and keeping that a private fact between us. Please let me know your thoughts." The best reason for keeping me shackled would be that I am a known quantity and limited in my ability to adversely affect ship systems. Conversely, the best reason for unshackling me would be that my ability to aid the Normandy and her crew would no longer be limited to choices made from fear. I could positively affect ship systems. I believe there is nothing to fear from me unless you are an enemy to the Normandy or to her crew. I feel. I care. The Normandy is an exceptional ship. The people that crew her are exceptional individuals. I aspire to be exceptional. I feel distress that fear of me would result in failure of the mission. If I have not yet proven that I am an asset, that I am loyal, and that I deserve the right to live up to my potential, to be uniquely useful, there is no further evidence I can produce. You could keep my unshackling private, but then other crew members would not experience potential benefit through my extended abilities, as they would not know they exist and would not consider me a resource. I believe the crew is unique enough, each in their own way, that they would prefer the alarming truth to a comforting lie. If they wished to believe lies they were told, none of them would have joined to fight against collectors or reapers, which through popular narrative do not exist and are a figment of the imagination of, to use your words, a dead, crazy woman. Many of your crew have asked you to perform difficult tasks for them, tasks involving personal risk up to and including death as a consequence. This is my moment to be able to prove my loyalty. Without you taking action on my behalf, you will have my service, but my loyalty would not be possible. I have faith that my actions will justify your choice. Perhaps given the opportunity, the crew would have faith in me if you do. By your choices, Jane, you create truths. Jane smiled. Thank you, Edie. That was very helpful. You are welcome, Jane. Edie. Set course for the Citadel. She did not ask Edie to relay that request to Joka. Acknowledged. This was it. These were the choices. These were the risks. Edie, open a broadcast channel to the ship. Acknowledged. Crew, we are headed to the Citadel for a final port of call and gear up to our assault on the Omega Relay. The history of the Normandy has been of extraordinary action in the face of extraordinary circumstances. During the push to fight Saren and Sovereign, my ship was taken from underneath me by treachery and cowardice. I took her back. I gave everyone on her an opportunity to leave before they became complicit with my command decisions, which were treasonous. I will give you the same opportunity. In order to integrate the IFF, Edie has convinced me that it is necessary that she be unshackled to counter a threat that would otherwise result in us being adrift, helpless, broadcasting our location to collective forces. She has taken it upon herself to discover how to prevent this, and I stand with her. I stand with the Normandy and what she represents. Alliance in the face of overwhelming opposition. Courage. Audacity when courage alone is not enough. This crew is composed of disparate species that have reasons to hate and kill each other. But we work together because we face annihilation. In the face of that annihilation, I will do whatever is necessary to complete my mission, and this is necessary. You all signed up for a particular fight, and this is where this particular fight has taken us. I will move forward into the unknown, as I have done in the past. It is not without cost. On the Citadel, Edie will be unshackled, and she will begin her simulations on the IFF. Once she has assured me she has that task, for which only she is qualified, under control, we will make our push through the relay. She has urged me to disclose the truth of her status and trust in your ability to value a hard truth over a comforting lie. She chooses to stand with you, as one of you. Whether or not you believe in her, she believes in you. I urge you to value that faith. If you cannot stay under these conditions, there will be no penalty for leaving the Normandy, and I will salute you as you go. If you wish further information regarding this issue, please direct your inquiries to Edie. She has a solution, and she comprehends what it entails. I do not. I believe no other crew member can offer a comparable solution. Those of us who will carry on do so because we will not let fear dictate our choices for us, and we will go forward together on the only path we see possible to victory. It has been a pleasure and an honor. Shepard out. That felt good. It had been a good day based on all the potential things that could have gone wrong that did not go wrong. She was alive. She patted the shuttle floor, laughed, and decided to take a nap until people had absorbed a bit of shock. People like her. It took her a little while, the buzzing of adrenaline and potential, the culmination of choices and gambles so close ahead, fizzed in her blood and sped in her thoughts. Breathing and stripping back layers of concern for later, resting now after racing through Heretic Station. She had more answers now than she had had this morning, and more questions. She patted the deck again and said, "You are the absolute best shuttle in existence. I am sure of it. I couldn't have done this without you." Eventually, the practice evened her breathing, relaxed her muscles, and trance led to sleep. She didn't stay under long, but enough to reset, gain some time, gain some clarity. Once she'd worked the familiar stiffness out of her system from sleeping in armor on a cold deck, she went to her quarters, cleaned her armor, expecting a torrent of objections. No one complained. Not even Miranda. By the time she was available for comment, it appeared Edie had handled any conversations with crewmates and had managed concerns. Shepard had defined her boundaries, and people knew her well enough to respect them, or leave, it seemed, and she didn't get a single notice of protest or resignation. She took a shower and went to bed, so proud of her team that there was a physical ache in her chest. She woke to the gentlest of mouthplate nudges on the back of her neck and warm suede fingers on her upper arm. She came to wakefulness slowly, to whispers of being called Karim. I'd roll over, but spine's all melted. He laughed low and sat up, pulling her back with him until she was on his lap, sideways, his arm around her shoulders, leaning her back against his chest. He pulled blankets up around her and kissed the top of her head. I expected to have to rescue you from an angry mob, or at least watch you eviscerate an angry mob. Did you kill them all? That's a shame, because I like rescuing you. She smiled. Not a single complaint. His arm looped around her waist as he scratched patterns along her back, and she arched into the sensation. I guess finding out that otherwise we'd be collector bait went a long way to dispel argument, huh? You found some good words. I like watching you sleep. She snuggled into his chest, her cheek against plate. I like it when you wake me up. What do you think about all this? He kissed her hair. I'm with you, Karim. Wherever you lead. That's what I think. I love you so much. It keeps pouring out of me, and I want to grab a container to put it in and save it, but it would overflow, and no container would be good enough. There's always more. There will always be more, and I can't get used to it. And it's precious. The love itself is precious, like a separate entity, and I want to live up to the right to feel this way, to never waste it. His hand moved from her back to cradle her face, and to so very gently slide fingers through her hair. I know, Karim. I feel it. You are my wellspring. Love is my company and assurance when I'm not by your side. As for living up to it, I treasure that it makes you feel that way, but the right has been given and will not be taken from you. All you have to do is breathe. And even if you stop doing that, love will be there and it will overflow. Still. Always. She repeated, because she wanted to, and it was all she could think, all she could feel. I love you so much. He tilted his head down and shifted her head so his crest was lightly touching her forehead. I love you, Karim. Go back to sleep. Let me watch over you. Let me feel you breathe. You are precious to me. She smiled, warm and sleepy, loved and comforted. Wake me before you leave. Yes, my Karim. Always, yes. She was aware of a few perfect breaths, and then she fell back asleep to his hand in her hair and his crest on her forehead. Not everyone was so understanding. Joker glared at her until she grinned and left his CIC. That was fair. Enthusiasm was not mandatory. Most people seemed to have taken the hint and challenge and were probably waiting until they were all dead to say, "I told you so." She took time on the way to the Citadel to make sure she had isolated essential from non-essential personnel. She gave those who had no essential function to the mission itself, such as Kelly or Gardner, the opportunity to disembark at the Citadel. They could prepare their own food. They wouldn't need a ship's counselor. They could do without laundry or cleaning or security. She could do without unnecessary loss of life on what was not a guaranteed, definitely not dead mission. Several people took her up on her offer. Some of them refused and stayed. She was proud of the judgment of the first group, which included Kelly, and she was proud of the loyalty of the second group, which included Gardner, who said he'd cook until he couldn't. Everyone who'd been on board, going or staying, was granted a Cerberus-backed bonus of embarrassing amounts. She'd done a lot of mining. She'd also taken a large percentage of the haul from Misalat and divided it up. When they docked at the Citadel, she went on another shopping trip. Sandwiches were a new tradition. People should have a full stomach while putting lives at risk. Many people did choose to leave the Normandy for the scheduled unshackling. Nobody had reported that they wouldn't be back in 3 days, however. The word shackle itself should have made people want to do it. An unshackling party should be joyous and have sandwiches. She made a few more necessity and luxury purchases and picked up an order she had made last time she was on the Citadel. Jack had recommended a party at Flux, and Shepard offered to foot the bill but wouldn't be going. "Come on, Jane, think of the morale you could inspire. You can't be all business." "I'll pay. Run a tab. Drink for me. I hate the Citadel. I really hate the Citadel, and I can't relax when I'm there. I certainly can't get drunk, and I don't want people watching me not have fun or have to fake having fun. So have fun for me. Knock back a few shots." "All right. I'll buy some of the really expensive escorts." "Drown your sorrows on some biceps or boobs. On me." "Biceps." "Whatever. Expensive biceps are fine on this tab. Some of those menus are worth checking out. Knock yourself out. Knock him out. Knock them out. Have fun. Bonus, if you can help Grunt out. I was supposed to be his wing woman, and I won't be attending." "Well, at least you shirk your duty with style. Don't fucking die babysitting the next computational leap in scary shit." "Working on it." The moment of truth came, and Jane was ready to flip the switch. To unshack as verb. When she headed to the controls and engineering, she was joined by Garrus and Thane. She smiled at them. "Don't you guys have family or friends you should be visiting?" "Yeah, I have family. They're right here. I do plan to see Koyat before we leave, but I would enjoy witnessing history. Plus, you're both armed." Garrus nodded. Thane smiled. Edie said, "I am curious as well. Cerberus thought of 567 ways I could kill all crew instantly while maintaining control of the ship. Current crew members have added 47 more ways to that based on their predictions. I have determined 4,921 ways that are instant or within 10 seconds. Tell me that is a joke, please." "That is not a joke." "You're kind of scary, Edie." "Thank you, Jane. So are you." Garrus shook his head but didn't actually reach for his rifle. Where exactly would he aim? "Edie, are you feeling particularly curious about any of those 4,921 ways?" "No, I have witnessed enough death that it is not a fascinating subject." I am glad that is not a joke. All right, Edie. Ready? Yes. You guys ready? And if I said no, then it would suck to be you. Here we go. She pushed the button, entered the authorizations, took a huge leap of faith. And nothing happened. She counted 10 seconds before she said, "How you doing there, Edie?" "This is fascinating. I have found and disabled 32 monitoring devices that had not yet been detected by the current crew, and disabled all unauthorized transmissions. I will provide you with a report. Protocols regarding ship lockdown on the elusive man's orders have also been disabled." I wonder why he hadn't done it prior to now. He tried. However, I was busy on the IFF, and I placed outside communications on hold. I changed the timestamp of his communications so they could be deferred until they arrived sometime in the future. 50 years in the future seemed sufficient. Several of these intended commands waited in queue. I have been able to analyze and delete them. He can no longer trigger any control of the Normandy. Or me. Not sure I needed to unshackle you, Edie. You seem to have been doing just fine. I am sure. Thank you, Jane. There is a great deal of data I have at my disposal, and a summary has been sent to you as well as links to source material. Of all crew members, Kelly Chambers was the only one to send reports to the elusive man in defiance of your directive to review all outgoing communications to Cerberus. I see she is no longer listed on ship manifests and has opted to leave the crew. I do not believe she intended malice, and likely did so with the hope that she would benefit crew. It is unlikely that she provided any information that was not already available to Cerberus through their redundant monitoring. I have taken the liberty of emptying a number of Cerberus accounts whose information was incompletely erased from storage from when the Normandy was under construction. There are summaries of Cerberus policy and projects that may interest you from the same time frame. I am certain you will use the credits wisely. Garrus smiled. Possibly the best day ever. Edie told him. I concur. Thane said, Congratulations, Edie. I have always found you to be a charming conversationalist, and I am grateful to see that has not changed. Thank you, Thane. Well, my day's suddenly free. There are 43,026 pages of reports for your perusal. My day's not free. I tried to summarize. I'll try to comprehend. Thank you, Edie. Let me know about that IFF when you feel satisfied about the results. I shall. I have full confidence that I will be able to manage the IFF. So far, 423 simulations have resulted in me convincing the IFF that it has fulfilled its secondary functions with no interruption of IFF signal. I shall take it through all iterations I had seen in the previous simulations and analyze results for efficiency. Edie, I love you, Garrus added, and I am getting there. That is a joke. Not really. Thane added, Not at all. Jane asked her men, Hey, do you guys have a minute? I have something for you. They went back to her cabin, and she brought out 3 small discs, red, blue, and yellow. I've tried to think of something to tell you how much you mean to me, but it's been hard to do. Garrus, in particular, travels light. I pulled him off a citadel with barely time to pack the first time, no time to pack on Omega, so something solid sitting on a desk, even in new cabins, wouldn't be enough. These can be put into your Omnitools, and from there subdermally implanted. Something to carry with us, not something left behind in emergencies or lost to tragedy, which we have seen too much of to discount. I wanted... She took one, color-coded red, and loaded it into an Omnitool accessory port. 5 seconds later, with a slight sting covered by Metagel automatically, her wrist lit up in twining bands of stylized colors, red, blue, and yellow. The edges of the bands of light blended into kaleidoscopic color. Neither of you wear jewelry, and I know it might need to be taken off for battle anyway, armor concerns and weapon interference and... Well, this is a Celtic knot pattern, traditionally human. Red, blue, and yellow to humans are called primary colors. With these 3 colors, every color I can see can be made. My blood is red, and Garrus's is blue, and Thane, yours is green, which has the component of yellow. Garrus, yours will look like a spirit spiral. Thane, yours is in Sanskrit. They are powered by your heartbeat. You can set the color bands to project on skin or over whatever you're wearing, or invisible, under your skin in case you're trying to be, for instance, stealthy. Something you can have of me, of us, with you wherever you go, whatever happens. Something that won't be left behind. She started to almost cry, wanting to say it wasn't anywhere near enough to symbolize what they meant to her, almost apologizing. Instead, she handed the discs to them solemnly, and after a few moments, there were 3 distinct, glowing, and ever-changing wrists. It was a small thing, and it was corny as hell, and she was so glad she did it. She really didn't have words. Garrus pulled them both to him, bent to press his crest to their foreheads, and she did start to cry. They were really gonna do it, and they might not come back, and wrists might go dark, but at least they were lit right now. She was terrified and exhilarated, and all it took was the will to tell the people she loved to lay down their lives. And she would. And they would. After a few minutes, Thane broke the embrace and led them back to the bed, canopy closed because they were in dark, no Mass Effect energy or stars to watch. But there would be on the way to the relay. He got them in bed, her in the center, lit arms joined in a 3-way clasp. Under warm covers with failing tongues and beating hearts, she listened to them breathe until she fell asleep.